Joe Hilda from Sister Joe Bangles here. I was lying awake in bed last night with something very heavy on my heart and mind, and it was so important to me that I couldn't write about it. It was really important that I speak to you about it. I want to begin by saying that in the last couple of days, there's been a lot of sharing on social media and in the news about the recent passing away of a very prominent fashion designer who took her own life. Now, I didn't know of this woman. I'd never actually heard of her before these reports came up in the media. But I was very interested in learning about her story and about what happened to her and the actions that she took in order to resolve the feelings and thoughts that she had about herself and her life. Just incredibly tragic. And as a person who has experienced and experiences mental illness and who lives with this on an everyday basis, it really did hit home to me, and it really brought it again to the fore, the importance of us speaking about this, not just as women, but as people who, also as people who are in business. I talk to a lot of women, particularly who are in business, entrepreneurs or creatives, writers, all that, people who do a lot of creative things. And there's a lot of focus, and there is a lot of pressure on women to succeed in what they do. So there's a lot of pressure on us to not only be good at what we do, but to have a successful business because of what we do. And I'm in quite a few groups where the focus is on, likes on Instagram. It's on, how do I convert? How do I get leverage? How do I turn all of this creative energy that I have and all these skills that I have into a successful business? Now, there's a place for that, and I think that all of that is important. All that knowledge and skill and experience is definitely of benefit to us. But here's the thing that I think is really missing from those conversations, and that is the conversation about self-care. Because if we've learned anything this week from the death of this obviously incredibly talented and gifted and successful woman, it's that no amount of gifts or talent or success can actually fix those kinds of feelings that resulted in, what ended up happening to her. And as a person who's, I know that I have a certain skill set. I know that I have 30 years experience in what I do. And I'm also quite, I'm exuberant in my talents and gifts. I love to express myself. But none of that is any good to me when I'm in the midst of depression and when I'm having those thoughts about myself that I'm worthless, those self-harming thoughts. None of that is any good to me. And what I wanted to say to you is that we need to have this conversation around how having a successful business and being a self-realized creative and mental illness, one doesn't actually resolve the other. So the more successful we become, the more successful our businesses become, we cannot have this expectation that that will resolve our mental illnesses, either by being able to have the resources to access what we need, so being able to pay for a psychologist or medication, or, going on holidays, or, I get this idea that women feel sometimes that in having a successful business, they'll have all this money and they'll be able to go to Bali, and then they'll feel good about themselves and life will be fantastic. I'm here to tell you that it doesn't matter where you go. Mental illness will follow you until you're on that path of healing and pursuing whatever it is that's going on in you. That like mental illness does not go away in Bali. It does not go away when you have a big pile of money. It does not go away when you've attained the success that you think you deserve or that you do deserve. Mental illness does not magically disappear when you've become the entrepreneur that you want to be, or when you become self-actualized as a creative. Mental illness is something that is physiological, it is spiritual, it is as a result of our history, it's as a result of so many things, and it's something that needs to be an ongoing journey for us. Successful business is not a cure for mental illness. And it troubles me that so many women seem to think that a lot of their personal problems, their emotional, mental problems will be resolved once they have the success that they desire. So I'm going to go on a little bit of a sidetrack from Sister Jo Bangles, which is actually going to be part of Sister Jo Bangles, and it's going to be a conversation around not just successful business, but around self-care and around having the expectation on ourselves and our businesses to fix things that are wrong in our lives, and around being open in our conversations about mental illness, because you all know I'm completely honest about my history with mental illness, my depression, the bipolar diagnosis, all of that. I've been really honest with you about this. I've just had a customer walk into the shop. Hello. Hello. I'm just filming a little video, so don't mind me. So I've been really honest about these things, but I feel that oftentimes we're not really honest. We want to have the business and entrepreneur talk, but we don't want to have the conversations about the other things. And some of those things are actually exacerbated by business. There's a lot of stress to be in business. There's a lot of pressure on women to, you know, have the appearance of having it all, to make a lot of money, to you know, to have all of those things. And those pressures come to bear not just on our businesses, but on ourselves. And so I want to open up those conversations further. This is something I'm going to be exploring in the future. And I really want you to join me as we begin to talk about it more and talk about the other side of having a successful business, which is also about self-care. Okay. Thanks, lovelies.